The dragons tear apart bases like none other in Clash of Clans. In this video we will be breaking down the DragBat Attack Strategy, which is one of the most effective ways of using the dragons. There is currently an event in game, so this video will help you to get some 3 stars. Alrighty guys, let's dive straight into this. I'm your host, Judo Sloth. Whenever you are looking at bases and thinking about using the dragons, the first thing you need to look for is pathing. And on this base design, it's already quite congested. We can actually get the dragons into this area relatively easy onto the defenses, take that down incredibly quick, which is the plan. Now with the DragBat over to the opposite side of the base, you have to be looking at where the splash damage is in order to use your bats, and on this one we have a wizard tower and a multi-inferno tower both together. However, the advantage here, or the weakness of the base design, is that one freeze spell can mitigate both of them. So sometimes you might use a bat wave technique, which is deploying the bats at the edge, sending them in. This can be good if you can easily get to the splash and if you can get basically maximum velocity through the base. If you're dropping your bats right in the center, they're taking damage from each and every angle. In this case though, we might have actually lost some of the bats around the outside. It might have been difficult to get them onto this multi relatively quickly, so actually just getting rid of the splash and letting the bats spread out from there is the best option. However, we will wait until the dragons are into the center of the base as well in order to reduce some of the DPS onto the bats. So let's dive into this. Notice the timer at the bottom, 1 minute and 37 seconds this entire raid takes, so it is incredibly fast as long as you get it right. If you are new here to the channel, be sure to subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my Clash of Clans videos. Now let's pause very briefly in order to explain here. Whilst it is relatively easy to get the dragons into the center here, do not mess up that funnel guys. Just one dragon on the side here and one over to the left hand side means that we can force the majority of them into the center. So a very easy funnel, but do take note, you don't want to mess that part up. Now in terms of lava hounds, which you will see will come in a second down in the army composition here, if you do have an area which is going to be quite heavy for your dragons early on, we've got the queen here, we've got Expo, Archer Tower, Expo, that's a lot of damage onto the dragons, and we do have not an inferno tower, we have an air defense sitting here which we can easily get the hound to. Not to mention there's probably at least a black bomb in this area, so a hound makes perfect sense to tank for the dragons to get into that area, take that down, and it also helps the slammer coming through. But the air defense have to be your priority, and that's why we have a good spread of the dragons from the left and the right to try and target that air defense relatively quickly. And any rage spells you are using with the dragons, you should be using to rage to the air defense. You don't necessarily have to rage when you are there, but you want to power to and onto the air defense. Couple of balloons are always a nice touch, because what that allows is for you to, one, check for traps, but also the balloons will target the defenses specifically. Now, not messing around here, as soon as the dragons get towards the center, look, we've got the Expo tanked, we've got the air defense tanked, we can now start the bats. That is the beauty of the bat bomb technique. You can actually send it in earlier than the bat wave. Alongside the rage and one freeze spell, that is enough to take out both splash damage, and because the king and queen we used on this right hand side, they can actually power up to the remaining wizard tower, take that out, and at this point the base is wrecked. So getting that pathing initially for your dragons and then ensuring that you can try and protect your bats means that this is an incredibly quick strategy. We have a couple of other examples coming up as well, breaking down different base designs, different variations of the attack, so this will hopefully be helpful for you, as there is a dragon event in game right now. It's only active for about another day or so, but let me know in the comments if many of you guys have completed it, because we get some nice little rewards. Not to mention the dragon statue that is in game as well for a limited time. I will be definitely getting that myself, but let's move to the next attack. For the second attack of the video, this base is a little bit trickier, but we will break it down for you and show how we took advantage of the base design. Now when I say we, I mean my teammates at Toxic Rabbits. Every one of these attacks is by our recent war against Division Omega, who actually got the victory. But if you're interested in joining us, be sure to join my Discord server. It's linked down below, and you will be able to find everything you need from there. Now we have two sweepers in the center of the base here. Always something you do want to take note of when sending in the dragons. However, it might be inevitable that you do have to hit a sweeper. Thinking about what we discussed in the first replay, narrowing down the base in order to send the dragons in and using the bats on the splash. First thing you want to look for is splash. Notice the right hand side of the base here has one multi-inferno. So there's not a huge amount of splash there, not to mention one archer tower, 2, 3, export, air defense, huge amounts of value from the bats, because what you want to do is send the bats in where the dragons would be at most threat. That's what you want to try and do. Over to the left hand side, wizard tower and multi, one wizard tower up to the top, so potentially a bit easier to flood the bats in from that area as well. However, not as much value up there from the bats either. Plus you'll see that pathing is a little bit easier. 2 wizard towers down the bottom, so we've already identified that the right hand side of the base is where the bats will come in. Now where do we send the dragons? The bats will be responsible for the air defense at the top right. Where can we send them in to get the best benefit? Well, there's 2 air defense to the left here. However, we would be fighting a sweeper head on. So if we were to send the dragons into 1 air defense, we could potentially get the slammer to one of them as well. Sorry for the awful arrow there, guys. But in terms of sending them in, the air defense, you could choose either way here, basically. This attacker decides to take this bottom one out with the queen, getting any point defense there as well, sorry. The king is going to come down and take out this wizard tower, enabling the bats to come in initially away from the air sweeper. Look, to this air defense, should be able to take that, which is not covered by the air defense. Once the sweeper is tanked, we can then get the slammer into the final air defense. So this is the area for the dragons. We just need to cut out that funnel. Again, the king's going to be responsible here. We've got a baby dragon coming into the left hand side, meaning that the dragons will now force into this area. Optional to take a hound. Again, there's not a single target inferno here, so the hound is a good idea. And let's start the attack so we can then continue to break it down as we move along. So in comes that king. Remember, if you're trying to get your queen onto this air defense, the pathing has to be set up first. So whilst the king can help to funnel the dragons, you want to use him to then funnel the queen as well, popping that ability to get the enemy king, and he will move down over, which again just clears things out for the queen to just slowly move into this pocket, get the air defense. She will then continue from there, and at this point, once she's got the air defense, that's pretty much all we want, although she will get a little bit extra value as well. Baby dragon to the left makes a good start here, and whenever you can self-funnel, you always want to do this. So by using the dragon here to start the funneling process, it will move down into this direction, which is what we want anyway. So don't necessarily waste any troops in order to create that funnel. We can get the dragons down and then in. So they create the funnel for themselves, exactly the same at this side. So we're trying to force them down so that we've then got that major push to the air defense. That is the main threat of the base. Once we're into the heart of the base, we can then use the rest of the phases in order to finish off. The hound is used in this instance. Dragons come forward. Now you've got to picture pathing of the dragons as well. So what we want is them into the heart of the base here. They could be drawn around either direction. So that's where merging the phases can help. Using the slammer and the balloons to this side helps to take out this area and force the dragons further through the center of the base. Otherwise, there could be a good chance that they're just drawn outwards, and then you lose that force of the dragons coming through. although you don't want them to be too tightly compact though. Having that nice narrow path is ideal. You don't want them on top of each other. Opts for the bat bomb technique again in this one. Since there's only the one multi-target inferno, we can get that down. However, if we were to come in with the bat wave technique, we'd be hitting multiple of the point defense with the air defense in the center, or the inferno tower, sorry. We'd actually have the bats moving all of the way around the side before we even got to that. However, you can see the disadvantage of the bat bomb method here, how we did lose the bats relatively quickly because of all of the point defense shooting at it. However, a nice touch here was using balloons in the slammer in order to haste through onto the defenses, because if you do have balloons there, a lot of the time when you're merging the phases together, you can haste them balloons onto an area of the base where they do tremendous damage, because the dragons are there anyway tanking the defenses. So a nice job in this one. I'd always recommend the stone slammer as your primary focus, because you should be able to set up the funnel preferably without using your siege machines. However, you can be interchangeable. The battle blimp might be appropriate if there's a small island in the center of the base, for example. You can use your blimp to take that out, or the wrecker might help your heroes get in. But let's move into another attack. I now have a pretty cool replay because this one uses the bat wave technique, so a little bit different to the first two replays you've seen. Plus, this attack didn't go to plan, so Joey had to adapt to get the 3 stars. Now I'm going to theorize how I think he foresaw the plan going here with this attack, but I want you to let me know down in the comments what you thought Joey wanted to do with this attack. Now looking at the base design, again we have multi-infernos in a close proximity of a wizard tower, so potentially we could freeze that area in order to get good value from the bats. I'm not sure whether that was what Joey was planning. I think it was based on his troop design. So starts off with the king in order to funnel here and a couple of wizards to take out these 2 buildings. Idea being that he can force the king up and around, but then send the queen into the archer tower, into the air defense, and unfortunately wouldn't be able to get the multi because of the decoration. However, some wall breakers in the army composition, I'm pretty sure that once the queen came up to here, he was going to try and wall break this area to take out the multi as well with the queen. I'm pretty sure that was his plan. You will see that things walk. Let's have a look at the initial part of the attack here, and then I will pause and continue to theorize as we move along. You will see the narrow pathing of the dragons, how the stone slammer was going to reinforce. But starting out here, king, quick use of the wizards, gets the funnel appropriately made, although the wizards did take their time. King goes to the top. This is where I think the plan didn't work. The queen slightly offset there, could have potentially placed her a tile or 2 further up, but the king taking out the gold storage pretty quickly is not what Joey expected, and it forces the queen down over instead of up over. So he misses the air defense, 5 wall breakers then not really even needed. Pretty sure he wanted to freeze that, get the wall breakers in for the queen to do her job. So how is he now going to take that out? Well, the plan is to send the dragons into the air defense as quickly as possible. We can get them into this top air defense. That will get the queen. It will be away from sweepers relatively quick. So I'm pretty sure the dragons wanted to come in from this angle anyway, because these little pockets to the side are quite nice to easily funnel and send the dragons straight down into the middle. That then means we can send the slammer into the right, or the left hand side here, sorry, in order to take out these 2 remaining defenses and bat bomb in the bottom. Potentially that was the plan. I think Joey wanted to send the slammer in with the dragons here, or potentially from the side, but then use the bats here as well in order to send through the base. Maybe I should have even messaged him to find out. Should have probably done that, guys. But sends the dragons in from the top. Has to wait until these wizard towers are tanked before he can consider sending the bats in. So we're just going to wait for a second. Again, no single target infernos, so the Lava Hound can be a good option here to protect the dragons and the Rage when they are at most threat. As soon as the Wizard Tower over to the right hand side here is tanked, sends in Loons and a Rage spell to get that area down, because he doesn't want the dragons getting forced across to the multi, wants them into that area where the expos are. Then the Slammer comes in from this side onto the 2 splash damages. We will be able to take that out, and notice now that there is no splash damage left, so the bats can come in. If he was to just plop them in the middle of the base here though, he'd be taking damage from all of the point defense at the same time, so that's again where the bat wave technique comes in to force them down. They gain momentum and freezes the central area, so it actually works out quite nicely, but I'm pretty sure that he wanted to use the bats over to one of the sides, probably to the left hand side, and reinforce the Stone Slammer through the center would be my guess. However, that is the beauty of Clash of Clans. You can take down a base in a number of different ways, and I hope this video has helped to showcase you the dragon strategy, in specific for this one, Town Hall 10. However, all of the principles of the video are exactly the same. If you've got any other tips, be sure to let me know down in the comments, and be sure to let me know how you think Joey planned to take down this base. Now, we did a similar video on the DragBat, but at Town Hall 12 just a couple of days ago. If you missed that one and you want to see it, be sure to click here. That will help you out massively, guys. But until next time, that wraps it up. Peace out.